This is a guide to the fashion of the Valkyrien Clockwork, namely an addition to the Valkyrien Sky. With this mod you will be able to build realistic airplanes and balloons. At the moment, the mod is in the alpha version, many items do not have crafting and in general everything can change. And you can download the mod itself from the official developer Discord, or in my Telegram, which is a little easier. Let's get started. The first and most important block is the infuser physicist. By installing it in the world and clicking on it twice with the right mouse button, it will get realistic physics and immediately fall. And we can already attach some other blocks to it, thereby the effect of realistic physics will also apply to them. But you also need to pay attention to the fact that different blocks have different weights and properties. You can also give the properties of physics to already built structures by simply adding this block to a construction somewhere and using a new object, blue glue, very similar to the glue from the fashion of Crete. Use the blue glue to highlight the area with your design and this block, it should also be in it. And just right-click twice on this block and the whole structure will be assembled and exposed to physics. And of course, all the mechanisms on this structure will open and you can interact with them. But it is unclear how to return these constructions to the original state of their blocks. For example, this was implemented in Eureka Airship by parsing. And then we have the gravitron. Holding this thing in your hand and right-clicking on buildings with realistic physics, you can move them, and when you have decided on a place, right-click a second time and you will release the building. Next we have a mushroom screw bearing or a propeller bearing. Install it on a building with physics, place a few sails from the Crete fashion in front of it and give it a spin. Then click on the bearing to assemble it. And you will notice that he will start pushing your building in a given direction. And pay attention to this red indicator, it shows in which direction you will be moving, which can be used to create airplanes or helicopters. By the way, the number of sails directly affects the pushing force, which can increase the speed of movement. Next we will talk about wings, flaps and a bearing for flaps. The 3D models of the texture of the wings and flaps are very similar, so do not confuse them, because they are needed for different purposes. The wings themselves provide the lift that will push you up if your aircraft or building is moving, and the flaps are used in conjunction with the bearing for the flaps to change the direction of the aircraft by tilting them. Bring the rotation to the bearing from behind, and you have to set 2 restound signals, to the left and to the right of it. Then place a number of flaps, glue them together and click on the bearing, now they are assembled. And by giving an arrest signal to the left or right of the bearing, you will tilt the glued flaps in one direction or another, thereby controlling your aircraft. And the speed of rotation that you apply to the bearing determines how fast you will have a tilt. And please do not glue the wings with flaps and do not use sails from the mod instead of these 2 blocks. And then we have the R-stone resistor. This unit reduces the rotation speed from the ket mode, which is applied to it, depending on the strength of the restun signal. For example, using a conventional lever, the rotation becomes complete, because the strength of the rest signal from the lever is maximum. And if you use an analog lever, then you can gradually reduce the speed and control it. Also in this fashion there are 3 new types of liquid, this is icing, chocolate icing and strawberry icing. And they are used as fuel, just the same for the mechanisms from this mod. The first of them is the author of blaze or turbine. The turbine will simply push your design forward, depending on how it is installed. She will need any of the 3 glazes I told her about to work. And the strength of the growth signal determines how fast it will push your building. Next comes the internal combustion engine. It consumes such fuel as glaze and instead produces rotational energy. But there are a lot of questions about this block. I built exactly the same structure, poured icing into it, installed this engine, then the shaft, but there is no rotation. Why this is so is not clear. Then I just get out of this world and re-enter it. And miraculously, the engine started working. After all, this is a pre-alpha fashion. Let's be glad that it turns on at all. Next we will talk about the balloonist. With this block you will be able to create realistic balloons and airships. In order for this block to work, the following conditions must be met. The first of them, apply rotation to it from below. Then pipe the glaze to this block. Next, above this special block, we begin to build the body of our balloon using special blocks that add this mod. The shape and size of the balloon can be any, the main thing is that the balloon body is completed and closed. It should be hollow inside, and there was nothing above the balloonist's block. And the last stage, out of fashion, take a brass hand and click on the balloonist with it, and after a while the ball will aim upwards. By changing the rotation speed and its direction, which is fed to the balloonist unit, you will adjust whether your balloon will rise or fall. There is also a nasty tank. This is a Dariga ailing balloon that is currently in the air. If you simply re-enter the world, then all your balloons that flew, they will fall after re-entry and will refuse to take off. To fix this, simply rearrange the balloonist unit and it will work normally again and the balloon will take off. It's time to say goodbye, friends, and for those who are here for the first time, I advise you to subscribe so as not to miss new interesting videos that may surprise you.